What's up, guys? I hope you all are having a great day today, just full of so much positivity and happiness, dude, because we are here once again reviewing some good old-fashioned Ubislop, and honestly, I don't take this opportunity for granted, because with Tencent buying up more and more of Ubisoft by the day, who knows how much longer we're actually going to be able to do this until Ubisoft inevitably closes its doors. So just know I don't take this opportunity lightly, and I do revel in the fact that I do get to review probably the worst entry in a series that I absolutely loved at one point and looked forward to every single year, and that of course being Assassin's Creed, and more specifically the latest entry in the franchise, Assassin's Creed Shadows. Assassin's Creed Shadows is the long-awaited entry in the Assassin's Creed franchise set in feudal Japan that fans of the franchise, other than myself, have been asking for since around the time of Assassin's Creed 2, man. People have been really wanting this setting for a very, very long time, and well, in typical Ubisoft fashion, what should have been an absolute home run, slam dunk opportunity to give fans exactly what they wanted, deliver a kick-ass experience, and overall revive the franchise from a place of overall mediocrity, in my personal opinion, Ubisoft completely fumbled the opportunity, creating yet another copy-paste, bland, checklist, open-world slop experience, mired in political controversy in an effort to boost their ESG score, which seemingly hasn't worked because the Ubisoft stock is only on a downward trajectory. But this game, by all accounts, should have been an absolute home run. This was the trump card that Ubisoft had been keeping up their sleeve, you know, break in case of emergency type shit, and somehow they yet again managed to make a game that is better not experienced, in my personal opinion. Now, Assassin's Creed Shadows stars the female Shinobi, Naoe, and the slave-turned-samurai, Yasuke.
Diogo, you have proven your loyalty and valor. What's more, you have earned your place next to me. As a samurai, what shall we call you?
My name is Yasuke.
Or as he's otherwise referred to as Oda Nobu.
Hey, God!
Now, I do know there has been some confusion surrounding this game, that Yasuke has been portrayed by the late and great Saint Floyd of Fentanyl, but that is absolutely not the case, and it's abundantly clear for one very evident reason. But all jokes aside, this game, I feel like, is just incredibly boring. In my opinion, probably the most boring game in the Assassin's Creed franchise. By the end of my 40 hours playing through the main campaign and doing most of the major side content in this game, I assassinated every target. I did most of the side quests for every character. In fact, I've almost platinumed this game, which I was kind of tempted to do prior to this review, but by the end, I was just so ready to stop playing that, you know, I decided against it in my better judgment. But it just never was fun, man. There was moments where you could see like a glimmer of something that could have had potential. Like if I think they would have focused the game purely on Naoe and not tried to shoehorn the Yasuke character into the game, it would have been a lot better. But overall, it's very obvious why they did that. It was to score the woke brownie points, of course. Anyone arguing otherwise is being incredibly disingenuous, because as you play this game, it will become abundantly clear that it would have been better if he was not in it at all, because it completely ruins the dynamic of the game on countless occasions and interrupts the gameplay experience. There are countless times where you will be playing an objective in this game. You'll have to infiltrate an enemy base or castle or whatever it's called at that particular instance. You'll get all the way to a door and then it'll say, oh, you need to proceed as Yasuke in order to continue the mission. So you have to leave the enemy environment, reload the game as Yasuke, and walk all the way way back in. You cannot tell me that the game was that poorly designed that it just wouldn't automatically switch you when you interacted with the door. You can obviously tell that this character was shoehorned into the game. The narrative that Ubisoft was trying to put out there that playing as Yasuke was pretty much entirely optional is completely false, as you'll soon discover very quickly if you actually play the main story of this game. Around half the missions require you to play as him, and a lot of the side activities do as well, which I feel like are probably the worst instances in this game because it completely breaks the Assassin's Creed feel and just feels like an unnecessary shoehorned add-in that really does not belong whatsoever. I mean, why do you have an Assassin's Creed character that can't do basic parkour? Like, that defeats the entire fucking purpose of this franchise. So you can very easily tell this character was shoehorned in, and Ubisoft is flat out lying in how they represent his inclusion in the game. But I've rambled on here long enough, so we should probably go ahead and get into this review. So I figured what better way to kick this review off than to talk about the thing that Ubisoft is notorious for, and that, of course, is the bugs and glitches.
My name is Yasuke.
So what better glitch to talk about to kick off an Assassin's Creed review than a glitch with the assassination mechanic itself, where countless times throughout my playthrough, when I saw the prompt to assassinate an enemy, I would press R1 and then get launched into a lunge light attack instead of actually assassinating that particular target. And while we're on the topic of combat, there were countless occasions in Assassin's Creed Shadows where the combat completely broke on me in various different ways. The first of which being my personal favorite in true Ubisoft fashion, where the enemy just teleports underground.
How did I lose them? Face me!
Or another example, when you're fighting an enemy that literally cannot take damage, even though you are 5 levels higher than it in this shitty level-based combat system. There were also instances of combat where you would engage in combat, kill all the enemies, run outside of the detection zone, and it would still think you're in combat, unable to progress with main story objectives or side activities. This was so bad that I actually reloaded this particular segment, redid it, killed every single enemy, walked outside of the zone, and I encountered the exact same glitch, even after completing a separate side activity before trying to reactivate the objective that I was approaching the first time around. So this game has a lot of fucking issues, and that's not even to mention small things like the lighting completely fucking breaking in this game. Or instances during story cutscenes that are not properly accounted for due to the season mechanic, where characters will clip through the snow and it just looks absolutely retarded.
You know,
I could die tomorrow, satisfied.
I'd be stuck carrying all that rice on my own.
Your mind is already back on the mission. I see.
We can't stay here forever. Let's try meeting at Nijo Palace again. Only this time, don't get caught.
So yeah, obviously I'm not going to beat a dead horse. It's a Ubisoft game. There's going to be a ton of issues, jankiness, bugs, glitches, whatever you want to call it. If you're looking for that traditional Ubisoft experience, it is definitely here and present, so don't you worry. So I don't really want to harp on this particular section too much. I think we should probably just go ahead and move right on in to the gameplay.
My name is Yasuke.
Now, the first thing I do want to talk about when it comes to the gameplay of Assassin's Creed is the overall stealth experience. Now, obviously, this only applies to the Naoe portions of the game because, obviously, Yasuke is a hulking brute who cannot stealth or parkour, so really, there is no stealth mechanics to talk about with him. You're just going to go in, sword swanging, hitting everything you can that's visible, so kind of a mute point on him. But when it comes to Naoe, I actually thought the stealth was pretty enjoyable. Now, I would highly recommend going into your difficulty settings and turning on instant assassination. I hate the fact that this game doesn't actually allow you to assassinate people in one fucking hit unless you turn on a specific setting for it. So do yourself a favor and spare yourself the headache and do that right off the bat. It'll make the game a lot more enjoyable when you are playing the stealth segments. And overall, when it comes to the modern Assassin's Creed, I think stealth is one of the few things they've actually gotten right in recent years, especially with Mirage and now in Shadows. I think it's a lot of fun, honestly. Like, this is the highlight of the game to me, is when you are sneaking through a base, killing a bunch of enemies, looting the chest, whatever it might be, sneaking up on the final boss of that particular enemy outpost, and thrusting your katana hidden blade into their throat. Does Ubisoft not understand that not every single blade in Japan has to literally be a fucking samurai sword? But yeah, I don't know, bro. I thought the hidden blade was really fucking cheesy in this game. But overall, that aside, the stealth is really satisfying. Throwing knives are also really OP in this game, which personally I like. Now, compared to Mirage, they did really nerf the smoke bombs, which could be a good or a bad thing depending on how you want to look at it. Personally, I really liked how OP the smoke bombs were in Assassin's Creed Mirage. I liked that it trivialized the stealth and just gave you a pure power fantasy experience that the older games gave you, with the incredible chain-based counter combat system that has been replaced with the Souls-like dodge and parry system in the modern Assassin's Creed games. So I personally like the power fantasy aspect of Assassin's Creed that's kind of been missing, but overall, I think the stealth gameplay is definitely the shining light in this very dim, dull experience overall, and it's the parts of the game that I genuinely enjoyed the most. The only issue I do have with the stealth in Assassin's Creed Shadows is a lot of times it can feel like it goes on way too long, especially when you're doing the side activities of infiltrating the castles and killing the various samurai that are scattered throughout the enemy installation in order to unlock a chest that gives you legendary loot. Now, this could take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how large the base actually is, and they're way too drawn out. So that's the only complaint I have, is some of these side activities, you will be in stealth, I kid you not, for up to an hour, tracking down and trying to find these samurai scattered throughout the base, which basically leads you to having to kill pretty much every single enemy you can find until eventually you cover every single square inch and you're able to track down either 2 to 5, depending on the size of the actual area. So that is my one complaint with the stealth. Overall, I think it was really fun. It had that classic Assassin's Creed stealth power fantasy feeling that Mirage, I think, actually did a really good job in capturing, just maybe a little bit more balanced. And overall, I think Naoe's gameplay segments were the shining star of this game. Again, you can tell that if this game was solely focused on her, it would be a lot better in my personal opinion, but the one issue is the stealth segments can be a little drawn out at times, especially for insignificant activities like taking over an enemy base, which you don't ever actually take over, you just get to unlock a chest and then all the enemies enemies respawn back, and you have to deal with them every single time you fast travel. So not exactly very rewarding. I do not think that should take an hour, and that definitely is a problem in my personal opinion, but I really did enjoy the stealth elements in this game, which is refreshing because games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla really did not prioritize that whatsoever. They kind of took a step in the right direction with Mirage, and I'm glad to see them keeping that energy, at least when it comes to the Naoe gameplay experience. Now, on the other side, you have the combat, which personally I am not a fan of. You will never convince me that Assassin's Creed has ever had better combat than the Ezio trilogy, Assassin's Creed 3, and Assassin's Creed Black Flag. That counter-based combat that you could chain into a kill chain was just so fucking satisfying. You felt like a killing machine. You could wipe out 10 enemies in a row with one swing of your sword or your hidden blade. It felt so satisfying in comparison to what we have now. And just take a look at this gameplay clip. Like, whenever I talk about Assassin's Creed, I always have to bring it up, but just tell me this does not look absolutely amazing. Compare that to what we have now. Yeah, sure, it looks a little bit more flashier nowadays, but I feel like something really has been lost in that. Like, you no longer feel like a killing machine a lot of the time, and the over-the-top, almost fantasy-like, abilities and special moves that you can use in combat are kind of immersion-breaking compared to what we had previously. So I think the older games really did capture the essence of being an assassin more so than these newer titles ever will. Now, when it comes to the combat, it's pretty much identical to everything we've gotten from Origins onwards. There's not really anything to note here other than Naoe is going to take a lot more damage and deal a lot less damage overall, and Yasuke is a hulking brute that is basically going to go into every single combat encounter and completely overpower the puny Japanese men, quote-unquote, that are trying to stand up to this hulking black brute samurai that's absolutely towering over them and just obliterating them at every opportunity. I mean, it's absolutely hilarious. It almost sounds like parody when you think about it for cultural enrichment. And when you think about the background of Ubisoft, their history, the fact that their former employees are the ones that spawned companies like Sweet Baby Inc., it just really sets things into perspective. But I'm not going to get into that whole can of worms right now. The key takeaway here is that if you're familiar with Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, the combat is going to feel extremely similar to that, and there really isn't too much of a difference in the core gameplay experience combat-wise when it comes to Yasuke and Naoe. So, again, not really anything new here. I think it's fine and serviceable. I'm not the biggest fan of this style of combat. For what it is, though, I think it's fine. It's not going to blow you away, though. And it's not anything dramatically different from the other modern Assassin's Creed pseudo-RPG styled games.
My name is Yasuke.
When it comes to the modern Ubisoft experience, the open world is really do or die by how much you're going to be enjoying this game, because 90% of your time spent in these modern open world Ubisoft games will be walking from point A to point B over an unnecessarily large map that really doesn't need to be that large, and you'll be stopping along the way to interact with various things along your path, whether that be viewpoints, enemy outposts, side quests, collection activities, hunting, typically as in Ubisoft games. But in in the case of Assassin's Creed Shadows, this is probably the weakest open world experience and the most poorly designed one I think I have ever seen from them, because there is a very, very glaring issue. If you've played this game for more than a few hours, you will be met with the most irritating part of navigating through this open world, and that is if you dare to veer off the predetermined road system, you will not be able to make your way through this open world with any sense of ease whatsoever. Exploration is almost punished in this game because of how badly the world is designed. It's like they saw the obnoxious slopes that act as arbitrary blockers in Skyrim and said, hey, we can do even better than that. Let's implement the same slippery ground mechanic, but then cover everything in so much shrubbery you can't even see what the fuck is happening on your screen, and punish the players if they dare to go off the beaten path. So as you can see, the visibility is almost non-existent, and this is one of the most irritating things, because in the past, Ubisoft games have had these massive open worlds, and yes, you could take the roadway and use like an auto walk system on your horse to take you to the objective on your map. Well, Ubisoft does not have that auto ride feature on the horse this time around. You have to do it manually, and on top of that, now you can't cut over the terrain on a horse because you're going to be getting caught on every single bush, rock, and tree that feels like it's placed simply to slow you down and prevent you from going any way except exactly where the road system takes you, which is beyond fucking irritating. And in the background, you're just going to see some footage of me actually daring to exit off the road, and you could see how just miserable this shit looks to traverse. Now, in the wintertime, it's not as bad because all the shrubbery is dead, but every other season, it is downright obnoxious and borderline unplayable because you cannot even see where your character is and what you're even standing on or what you need to do in order to keep moving forward. So you are literally punished in this game for exploring anywhere that is not immediately off the system of roads. And that entire thing is made even worse by the fact that this is one of the most mountainous and hilly climates that Ubisoft has ever made, and they removed the auto ride feature from the horses, so you have to manually ride on your horse for 5 to 10 fucking minutes at the time, sometimes doing a complete fucking circle around the objective just in order to get where you need to go, which is absolutely fucking infuriating. And by hour 40, which is how long it took me to beat this game, I was so fucking sick of exploring this open world. And that is not helped by the fact that the open world is incredibly generic in this game. Every single building feels copy-pasted. There's not a single area in this game that feels relatively unique, aside from the areas that are like devastated by the war, which is not really a compliment because it just looks like absolute shit. And overall, I think this is probably one of the worst designed open worlds I have ever seen from Ubisoft. Now, granted, it doesn't look bad visually. I think the season changing mechanic is really cool, how you have the diverse seasonal looks of the environment, but that does not take away from the fact that the base world design is just absolutely terrible, man. Like, this has to be probably the most miserable open world that I have ever gone through when it comes to a Ubisoft game. And I played Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, motherfuckers, and that game was absolutely atrocious to get through as well, and unnecessarily large. So I think Ubisoft really outdid themselves by making a slop open world even sloppier. And overall, the activities that are scattered throughout the game are just really mediocre, man. Like I mentioned in the gameplay section, your main activity that you're going to be doing is going and killing 3 to 5 samurai per castle, which is like the enemy outpost, in order to open a chest to get legendary gear, but you never actually take over the outpost. They remain hostile the entire time, but usually there is a viewpoint which you can use as a fast travel location inside of those castles. But the problem is they're so fucking huge that when you fast travel to them, it can take you a minute or two at least to get out of it, and that's if you don't encounter enemies along the way, which oftentimes you will. So overall, the world just feels really, really poorly designed, and because they're so scattered throughout the world, you're still going to have to be riding on your horse for 3 to 5 minutes at least, because you have to follow the system of roads, because if you dare to go through the woods, good luck actually finding your way to the objective. On top of those castle activities, there's not really much of note to say about the open world shit you can do. Like, the primary objectives that serve as like the collectibles either include scanning the environment at a temple for places to pray 3 to 4 times, or finding 3 to 4 scrolls scattered across the temple grounds in order to get knowledge points. There is a horse archery minigame, which is incredibly sloppy. Then you have quick time event games that are literally just either you meditating or using, I guess, sword martial arts as Yasuke, which are basically just, you know, literal glorified quick time events that are extremely irritating and unmemorable, all things considered. You do also have hidden tombs, which I personally did not really enjoy. I found them more irritating than interesting personally, and they got very, very repetitive after you did 1 or 2. So overall, the open world activities in this game genuinely fucking suck. They're extremely checklisty, probably the worst I've seen in this franchise. They don't really involve any problem solving or puzzles or anything that might mix it up even slightly. It literally just feels like, okay, this is the spot I need to go to on the map, and let me just go do this little slop activity real quick. Okay, that one's done, 20 more to go. And it's very irritating, which is why I ended up not platinuming this game when I originally planned on doing it, because I did it with Assassin's Creed Mirage. I got all the achievements, so I thought I'd try to do it for this one, but by hour 40, man, I just could not stand doing any more of this shit. And just to add insult to injury, your actual progression and skills you can unlock are locked behind collectibles, man. You have to gain these knowledge points by doing the meditation mini games, the martial arts mini games, the horse racing, the temples, all of that type of slop checklist shit. If you want to upgrade your character, boost your damage, add more utility items, do more damage, everything is basically linked to finding these knowledge points scattered across the map. So it just adds insult to injury, and I don't think it's any exaggeration to say that from a design standpoint, the open world is extremely bland and boring, and also is an absolute pain in the ass to traverse, with nothing really meaningful in between quest objective 1 and quest objective 2 that you need to do along the way. So I think Ubisoft utterly failed in making this an interesting setting and making the open world actually worth engaging with. I mean, you can't even kill animals, for God's sake. Mix in the fact that the traversal just feels very jank in this game for whatever reason. Like, your character will obviously be supposed to jump from one ledge to the other. Like, shit, it's covered in yellow paint, motherfucker. Like, it's pretty obvious where the character should be going, and it'll just randomly hurl you off in a different direction, even though your camera is pointing straight at where you're trying to go. So there's a lot of issues like that, and I think this is probably the best example I could find that I remembered to record. So yeah, whether it be the traversal, whether it be the design, or the activities scattered throughout, I think the open world of Assassin's Creed Shadows is a complete failure. So all that's left now is to get into the story, and this is where things are going to get very interesting.
My name is Yasuke.
Now, the story of Assassin's Creed Shadows starts off with us in the shoes of Yasuke, as he is introduced to Oda Nobunaga for the first time, and basically we get to see that not only is Yasuke a slave and that the evil white people are oppressing him, but he also speaks perfect Japanese, Portuguese, and later we find out Latin as well.
I would have many questions for this man, if only he understood. He is all the people of Kyoto speak about since his arrival.
Lord Nobunaga, I do understand you. Have you been deceiving me, Father Valignano?
No, Lord Nobunaga. Even I am surprised to hear Diogo speak like this.
Your name is Diogo?
Yes, Lord Nobunaga. That is what they call me.
Lord Nobunaga would like to speak with Diogo. Alone.
Oh,
I was hoping you could help me with this.
Latin.
What does it say?
It is a journal, or at least a part of one, if we judge it by the cover. Belonging to Alvaro Cataribera, a Spaniard. He writes about a young assassin.
So we find out how Yasuke joins up with Nobunaga, and we get that little intro. Then fast forward to Naoe in her village. We get to see basically Oda Nobunaga's troops attacking Naoe's hometown, and we get to see a chain of events that leads up to her father dying, which is supposed to be an emotional scene. There's just one problem. We don't really even know who the fuck he is, because unless you know what the word Chichiwe means... you would have no fucking clue who this guy is. And what makes it even worse is for the next 10 hours of playing this game, you are completely bombarded with flashback sequences that are supposed to make you feel sympathetic for Naoe losing her father. The only problem is they should have shown all that shit before he actually fucking died in order to give the scene the emotional effect that they were intending. But during these flashbacks, you were treated to one of the most cringe moments in this entire game, and that is Naoe fending off armed fucking samurai with a wooden sword.
Not true.
We'll ask for help next time, if Iga still stands.
Leave! Now!
Make us.
She's not worth it!
Go! Go!
And stay out of Iga!
Regroup! Regroup!
And in this instant, you're also treated to just how terrible the soundtrack of this game really is. It genuinely is the worst in the franchise I have ever heard. I don't know how the fuck you go from Jesper Kid to this shit, but somehow Ubisoft managed to not only provide a slop open world, slop gameplay, but an even worse soundtrack that genuinely just sounds so out of place constantly. But I'm not going to go through this story in autistic detail. I'm just going to give you guys the highlights. So for the next 10 hours, you work your way through the story. You take out key people that are attached to Oda Nobunaga to get revenge on him for killing your family and friends and your village, and more specifically your father, which leads you to eventually a mission where you have to go and assassinate Oda Nobunaga himself, which then leads to a chain of events where you meet up with Yasuke. You find out that Oda Nobunaga was actually betrayed the entire time, and he ends up killing himself to defend his Honoru, and Yasuke and Naoe decide to team up because this little fat Japanese kid uses talk no jutsu to convince them to team up with each other.
You can see the pain you've left in your wake.
Stop!
Stay out of it, Junjiro.
No, you don't understand.
He killed Egans, my family. He's a monster.
Then you're a monster too.
What?
I tried to stop you from coming here. I begged you, but you wouldn't listen. And I knew you'd find out if I didn't do something. Hide things. or earn things.
Shunshiro,
He saved us. He did bad things, but so did you. So if you kill him now, then you have to hand the katana to me next. I'll do it. I'll really do it.
I didn't know. Forgive me.
I already did.
Thank you. What is your name?
And now that Yasuke and Naoe are companions, we get to learn all about Yasuke's path to becoming a samurai through a bunch of flashbacks and missions where we get to see him become the greatest samurai of all time. I shit you fucking not. The game stresses that multiple fucking times throughout the campaign that Yasuke is quite literally the greatest person ever in Japanese history to wield a sword.
I hope he's to remain worthy of your guidance, Sensei.
You are more than worthy. You have come from a faraway land, shaken off bondage, and mastered our tongue. Foreign samurai are unheard of, yet you were chosen by the great Lord Nobunaga. I don't know what Lord Nobunaga saw in you when he first sent you, but I'm glad that he did. You may yet prove to be the most promising student to ever study Shinkaguryu.
Yasuke.
What is your name, miss? Why is it you look for me?
I am Yuki, sir. I seek to sharpen my mettle, to challenge and learn from the greatest swordsman of the land.
And after you finish this whole, I guess, backstory section of Yasuke's story, so begins the task of hunting down this game's version of the cult, which is called the Shimbakufu, which basically this entails you finding 3 to 4 missions typically that give you information surrounding each of the members. You complete those 3 to 4 missions, then you get the mission to go and assassinate them. Yasuke typically has a part, and Naoe has a part. Then you get to pick which one you want to play as in order to fight that particular member as a final boss fight. So it's very, very repetitive, but along the way you can recruit various allies. Now the first ally you're likely to encounter is a wonderful, beautiful lady named Yaya, which basically encompasses everything wrong with modern video game design.
I taught you humility, respect, and you stole from us? From me?
You left me. You were my guide. When you left, I lost my way.
So you become a thief?
Yeah. Stop.
You have something to say?
Yes, Tetsuo did hurt you. What happened in your past has hurt you both.
How quickly my anger when I lost my husband. I pushed you away. I was no good for the world. I left you with no choice but to find another family. Even if they were stray dogs. Will you forgive me, Tetsuo?
I forgive you, big sister.
And of course, she's extremely wise while also physically strong, detests violence, is always willing to forgive people, like the literal definition of the Mary Sue Abbyzilla self-insert character. And overall, she's completely unbearable. Luckily, if you pick the right dialogue options, she does not team up with you, which is absolutely great. I never had to see her again, but it's very obvious why she was included in the game. Now, another companion that I wanted to include the whole chain of events with is absolutely fucking hilarious, man. This actually was one of the highlights of the game for me, and unironically, I did end up enjoying this particular character's romance questline because of how it played out. So I'm going to put together a little supercut of the entire chain of events. I will timestamp this section, so if you want to skip through it, you can, but I would highly recommend watching it because the ending is absolutely fucking hilarious.
That was a good punch.
Where did you come from?
The Issei idiots. They deserved it. Pretty clever, huh?
Not that clever. You got the wrong ise.
They're as bad as each other. We beat them, though. We're good together.
I can't deny a certain... something.
Well, I'm going back to my village to sell the stuff I found. I knew they were dirty rich. Come meet me. We'll have some fun. I stole... Couldn't stay away from me, could you?
Shut up! All of Yamashiro can hear you.
Want a shiny new katana? I stole it from a fat samurai in Kyoto.
No.
Ah, then you're here for another type of sword, perhaps?
Depends on the quality of the blade.
Only the finest steel, of course. Forged in the flames of pleasure and chaos.
The chaos part, I believe.
These villagers work longer hours than the sun. Then tax collectors and samurai ride in. They take more and more rice each year. Villagers can't argue. They're left with barely enough to survive.
And this is your solution? Drinking and stealing and yelling?
It's better than... You're dead, thief!
I told you to shut up.
Finally! You'll pay with your life! Look how mad you're getting. Tell your wife Gendojo says hello.
Did you know him?
Nope. But I knew his wife.
Ugh.
What? Samurai are bullies. Assholes who get off killing poor farmers.
I happen to know a very honorable samurai. One I've come to call friend.
Friends. Samurai don't have friends. They have corrupt warlords. Why don't you let me show you what a good friend I can be?
A charming offer, thief. I'll think about it once you've sobered up. And bathed.
Fine. Meet me in Kyoto. At the tax collector's house. I'll smell like the first sakura of spring. And I'll show you who the real thieves are.
I'm sure you will. You cleaned up. But you have trouble written all over your face.
Every year, the shithead came to my village. And every year, he took more rice than we could afford. Left us broke and hungry.
So what are you going to do about it?
You are going to rob him, of course.
Me?
You were so worried about those villagers back there. So prove it. Take back everything that was taken from them.
I'm not doing your dirty work alone.
I won't be far. Now listen to me. Everything you take from the house is yours. So long as the scroll goes to me.
I didn't think you could read.
Shut up. That scroll is going to help bring justice to everyone who's suffered under those fat, corrupt pigs. Huh. Did you get the scroll?
Tell me what's on it first.
A nude portrait of me, hand-painted by the tax collector's wife.
I'm definitely keeping it now, and I know just the spot to hang it.
Above your bed?
No, for kunai practice. But seriously, what is this?
This scroll contains the location of the rice storage house for all of Yamashiro. It's overflowing while the villagers go hungry.
You want me to help you steal the rice?
I want you to help me give it back to the people it was stolen from.
There might be another way. Something bigger than stealing rice.
Returning rice.
Whatever. I'm gathering allies in Setsu. We're fighting to end this corruption once and for all. You could join us.
Tell you what, and only because I think you're cute. You help me see this through, and I'll think about joining you. I'm all in, if you're all in.
Fine. I promise.
Good. Meet me at the bottom of the Kiyomizu Temple stairs in Kyoto. Those idiots won't know what hit them.
Gennojo! Gennojo!
You just couldn't stay away from me, could you?
What can I say? I have a soft spot for belligerent, drunken thieves.
Hate to disappoint you, but I haven't had any sake since I saw you in the village.
Giving it up?
My head is very dizzy lately. Don't know what's causing this. Or who. Now, as much as you'd like to have your way with me, could you please untie me?
Is this where you bring all the girls?
Yup.
That's twice now that you've gotten caught. You're not a very good thief, are you?
Ouch. That hurts more than these wounds.
Am I wrong?
All my life I was the best. Until one day I got caught.
By a samurai.
Tatsugoro wanted me dead. But Nobunaga wanted all hands on the construction of his new castle.
You worked on the castle?
I was terrible. And Tatsugoro wasn't satisfied. To make me pay, he went to my village. They say my mother fell at his feet. So he killed her. My father went mad and attacked him barehanded. I came home to find their heads on pikes.
I'm so sorry.
I wanted to kill Tatsugoro. Kill all of them. But I'm no one. I'm nothing.
You're not nothing. I wouldn't be here if you were.
Enough living in the past. Life is short. Might as well embrace it.
Then kiss me.
No!
Sorry.
No. I like it. What? You know, I could die tomorrow, satisfied.
I'd be stuck carrying all that rice on my own.
Your mind is already back on the mission. I see.
We can't stay here forever. Let's try meeting at Nijo Palace again. Only this time, don't get caught.
Canon.
What are you doing?
Stupid Canon. My parents prayed for a kid over and over. And who'd they get? I was her blessing. A piece of shit like me. And then compassionate Kano never came back. Starve, she said. Die. See if I care.
We need to get moving.
Kano was nowhere when Tatsugoro killed my parents.
I am not the reason your parents are dead. You failed to mention how I caught you stealing my katana.
You killed them!
Their land was forfeited and their lives were lost the moment you stole from me.
But I was punished.
Building the castle for Lord Nobunaga was an honor, not a punishment.
Shut up!
For everything you have stolen, for all the disrespect you have shown, it was my honor to make sure another like you could never be born.
Don't listen to him.
Ganon did not bless your parents with you. She cursed them.
Wait! Stop!
Get out of my way!
I'll deal with him. Find the rice. Go! Trust me.
Genocho deserves to die!
Gennojo! Stop!
Why? My parents' hopes and prayers. Peasants breaking their backs. For what? All as tiny and insignificant as a single grain of rice. Means nothing.
A single grain, maybe. But it's nourishment. It keeps us going. It's hope.
Not when they take it away from us. They hoard it. And fighting back just makes it worse. I'm done fighting.
Torching the rice isn't the answer. You won't punish the corrupt, you'll starve the poor.
You saw those villagers. They hate me. We give them the rice. These bastards will just take it back. Pointless. Everything is corrupt. Corruption made me. Corruption put my mother's head on a pike. So I'll burn it all. And if the flames take me with them, good. See, this is the best thing. The samurai will be ruined. The poor will rise up. And I will be gone.
But what you might have noticed while watching those clips is people have very different accents in this game. Like, some of them talk with the typical English accent that you would expect from like an Asian South Park stereotype, and they literally say shit like hello and please. But there's also examples like Genojo that we just watched where he sounds literally like he's a guy from San Francisco. And then there's another NPC in the game that straight up sounds like she's talking with a German accent.
Have you come here, big sister? Did those stupid men send you? Those men are selfish, dirty rats who betrayed my father.
I want to help you.
I'm fine. Though they have been stealing from me, I want to retrieve what they have taken.
I know a certain Austrian painter referred to the Japanese as honorary Aryans, but still, don't you think that's pushing it a little bit too much? Another story moment I thought I would mention is how Yasuke actually blacks Oda Nobunaga's sister right before her wedding night, cucking her Japanese soon-to-be husband, which was absolutely fucking hilarious, man.
Thank you, Yasuke. I always enjoy our time together. But today must be our last.
But why?
I am an Oda before all else. My blood will help bind the Shibatas to us and preserve the peace.
Shibata Katsui, the Jaw Crusher, a great samurai, a great daimyo, and a most worthy husband.
It is an honor.
No one is truly worthy of you. Not anyone I know.
I know of one.
Lady Oichi, I always...
Not here, not yet. But soon.
Yes, soon.
Here we are, alone at last. Yet I don't know what to say.
I do. Someone once said it like this. You are a daimyo's daughter, and I am just a samurai.
Not just... Never just...
Lady Oichi, I have learned something in my battles. Time is a veil. Tomorrow is an illusion.
And all we have left is here and now.
You know, I guess that thing was a little bit fishy, and that's why a cat was resting on Yasuke's lap that night. But overall, it's just, bro, it's absolutely fucking shameless. Now, one thing I did notice in this game is the same-sex romance are a lot more graphic than the actual heterosexual ones. Like, they're way more intense, and they're way more graphic. Like, just compare this one to the Kanojo one you saw previously.
I'm guessing it's lust? Lust is a journey of 1,000 steps that begins with a kiss.
And yes, I put Naoe in her underwear for dramatic effect, but what you might have noticed is she literally looks like she's wearing a diaper. But if you look at men in their underwear in this game, which the game happily advertises on multiple different occasions during quests,
Just this way. Don't worry, I'm no threat to you. Which is why you should leave me alone.
Hey! Damn it.
you'll see that they're basically wearing a fucking thong, bro. So men are wearing thongs and women are literally wearing diapers. Like, you really cannot make this shit up. But aside from those moments, there's really not anything memorable that happens in the story whatsoever. It's incredibly generic, incredibly bland, and just overall boring in my opinion. I really felt like it was hard to determine what was actually a side quest and what was actually a main story mission because they felt almost identical and not in a positive way. But when you do finally reach the end of the game, you find out the identity of the leader of the Shimbufuku, or however the fuck you say it, and then also you have to play as Yasuke to take down the evil Wapipo, which in this case are the Templars. So yeah, basically the entire story of Yasuke revolves around Wapipo bad, and all the bad shit that's happening in Japan is because of white people. So of course, man, in typical Ubisoft fashion, gotta interject those woke ass politics into the game, and it's just abundantly clear by now. If you couldn't figure figure it out already that Yasuke was literally just included in this game for 1, SJW virtue signal points, and 2, to include a white people bad story arc. Shocking, I know. That's exactly what everyone wanted from their Japanese Assassin's Creed game, I'm absolutely sure. But really, the story doesn't really end on any sort of fanfare or anything really exciting happening. It's just basically a very generic, bland, and unexciting storyline. And overall, I did not really enjoy it at any point other than a few one-off moments where I was laughing at just how retarded it was, or how moments that were supposed to be emotional and moving just came off as extremely cringe and just overall made me laugh ironically. So, I don't know, dude. This is definitely one of the weaker storylines in any of the Assassin's Creed games. Like I mentioned, it's almost impossible to tell what's a main storyline quest and what's a side quest, and I do not mean that in a good way whatsoever. It feels like pure checklist activities from start to finish in the worst way imaginable. Now, I lasted over 10 hours without putting on guided mode, but eventually I just got so fucking sick of walking around an environment aimlessly over and over and over again. I eventually broke down and did turn it on, which sped up my process a lot more and made it a little less irritating, but even then, man, this campaign never got good. You barely even knew what was happening. The story is almost non-existent. It's riddled with flashbacks throughout the game, which just take you out of the pacing even further, and overall, it just never got good, other than a few one-off moments, but for the complete opposite effect that they were going for. So, generally speaking, I would consider this to be one of the worst stories in the Assassin's Creed franchise, especially among the mainline games. So, I think that's enough talking about the story. We talked about the gameplay, we talked about the open world, we talked about the bugs and glitches. I think we should go ahead and wrap this shit up. I really do not want to turn this into a 1-hour review, but, you know, who knows? We might be pushing it at this point.
My name is Yasuke.
So in conclusion, guys, to wrap up this already way too long review, because God only knows I am tired of talking about this piece of shit, but I think it's not really any stretch of the imagination to say that this is a below average experience across the board. The open world design, aesthetically and functionality, is not good. It's one of the weakest examples Ubisoft has ever done, and especially coming off a game like Assassin's Creed Mirage, where it looked like they were taking a step in the right direction by focusing on making one specific city environment that actually felt meaningful and well crafted. They instead decided to double down on the open world slop fest, quantity over quality mentality that plagues modern AAA Ubisoft games, and it really served to be to the detriment of this game's overall experience. Not to mention, the environments are literally copy-pasted from one side of the map to the other. The buildings look the exact same, and I would challenge you to find two visibly distinct areas in this game outside of the ones that have been ravaged by war, which even those have the exact same infrastructure, just in ruins. So it feels like a complete asset flip where they made one set of buildings and just copy and pasted it all over the world. I don't think any of the side activities are very engaging. The story itself that is there is incredibly bland, boring, and uninspiring. The characters you meet along the way, yeah, some of them are funny for all the wrong reasons, but not enough to carry the experience. The mission design is incredibly repetitive, bland, and unexciting. I didn't really enjoy the gameplay aside from the stealth, which thankfully was pretty enjoyable for the most part, but I'm still not a fan of this modern Assassin's Creed combat. And just overall, there is so many better ways to spend your time and money than to sit through this 40-hour slog fest that really gives you no sense of actual accomplishment or interest or anything throughout its entire 40-hour runtime. So for that reason, if I were to give Assassin's Creed Shadows a number rating, I'm giving this a 4 out of 10, which is below average on my scale. I would not waste your time with this game whatsoever. There are much better games to go out and spend your time and money on, like Monster Hunter Wilds, for example. Go buy that game instead. It is absolutely fantastic and is definitely worth you checking out over this. So anyway, guys, if you made it to the end of this review, I greatly appreciate it. As usual, these end up being a lot longer than I initially anticipated, and thankfully I will not have to talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows shadows, hopefully, for the foreseeable future, or any Ubislop game, because the future of the company looks very uncertain at this point. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like on it. I would really appreciate it. And as always, I do want to thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to check out this video, and for all the recent support as well on the channel. You guys are the fucking best, and I really do appreciate it. So with that shit said, I will catch you guys next time, hopefully reviewing a much better game than this one.